The first thing I saw when I threw open my bedroom window was Lydia Worthington, dressed head to toe in black like she was auditioning for a low-budget spy movie, dangling halfway through the barn window, legs flailing like a turkey caught in a clothesline. I didn't know whether to laugh, grab my phone, or load the shotgun leaning by the door. I stood there, half asleep, blinking at the sight of the president of our homeowners association trying to shimmy into my family's old barn at 2:13 a.m., under a full moon, looking like a raccoon that had gotten into the cooking sherry. Before I could even process what was happening, I heard a metallic click echo from inside the barn. I knew that sound better than I knew my own name. Granny Jo was in there, cleaning her shotgun, and by the sound of it, she had just chambered a shell. To say I wasn't surprised Lydia would try something like this would be a lie, but I sure didn't think she'd stoop this low, or this dumb. Lydia wasn't just any meddling neighbor. She was the HOA president with the personality of a wet wasp's nest and the determination of a badger guarding a trash can. For the past 6 months, she'd been circling our farm like a buzzard waiting for something to die. The barn was the main target. Ever since Dad passed, leaving the farm to me and Granny Jo, Lydia had been hinting, nagging, and outright demanding access to our land for what she called community improvement. By that, she meant bulldozing our barn, paving over the pasture, and building a gaudy HOA clubhouse with a swan-shaped fountain. She called it progress. Granny Jo called it nonsense. Granny Jo, for all her gray hair and soft-serve scoops of blue rinse, was sharp as barbed wire and twice as unforgiving. She'd been raising me and protecting this land long before Lydia's luxury SUV ever rolled into our town. Lydia had tried to charm her with baked goods, glossy newsletters, and even a gift basket of wine and lavender soap. Granny Jo looked at that basket like it was a bag of raccoon droppings and left it on the porch for the crows. I tried to be civil. I really did. I thought maybe if I politely refused Lydia's offers and held firm, she'd get bored and go micromanage someone else's garden. But no. Every time I blinked, there she was, peeking through the fence, snapping photos of our barn, and writing me up for imaginary code violations like unsightly hay bales and offensive paint chipping. I started to suspect she wasn't really about HOA rules. She wanted the farm for herself. Earlier that night, Granny Jo had been sitting on the front porch with her shotgun laid across her lap, polishing it like a family heirloom, which it was, and humming to herself. I remember her saying, "Storm's coming, sugar," without even looking up from the barrel. I thought she meant the weather. Turns out she meant Lydia. Now, watching Lydia's sneakers dangle helplessly from the barn window, I realized how badly she had underestimated us. This wasn't just a barn. It was our legacy. Generations of sweat, tears, and stubbornness were built into those wooden beams. Dad taught me to drive in that tractor she was trying to steal. Granny and I had weathered every storm, drought, and hardship in that barn. And now Lydia thought she could just slither in like some cartoon villain and drive away with it? I threw on my boots, grabbed my phone, and sprinted out the door. The night was thick and humid, clinging to my skin like molasses. The full moon lit up the fields like God's own spotlight. As I got closer, I heard Lydia grunting and cursing, then the clatter of her knocking over a pile of feed buckets. Granny Jo was standing inside the barn doorway, shotgun resting on her shoulder, leaning against the old feed bins. She hadn't said a word yet, just watching Lydia flounder like a cat stuck in a pillowcase. I could tell Granny was letting it play out, savoring every second. Lydia finally realized she wasn't alone when she spotted Granny's reflection in the cracked side mirror of the tractor. She spun around so fast she slipped on a patch of hay, landing flat on her backside. Her eyes went wide as wagon wheels. Granny cocked the shotgun and said, calm as sweet tea, "Well now, ain't you just a sight?" Lydia scrambled to her feet, brushing straw off her ridiculous black turtleneck. I was just checking for fire hazards," she stammered. Granny tilted her head, finger never leaving the trigger guard. "You're in all black, crawling through a window after midnight, for fire hazards?" The silence that followed was thick enough to slice with a butter knife. Lydia opened her mouth, closed it, then tried again. "This is official HOA business," she declared, puffing up like a disgruntled goose. Granny raised an eyebrow. "Official, huh? Got yourself a badge and everything." I swear, if I hadn't been so furious, I would have busted out laughing. Lydia, caught red-handed, was trying to pretend she wasn't exactly what she looked like, a trespassing, tractor-stealing, two-bit schemer. And this was just the beginning. Lydia wasn't the type to back down gracefully. You'd think getting caught red-handed by a 78-year-old woman with a shotgun would make a person rethink their choices. But not Lydia. The very next morning, she showed up at the front gate like nothing happened. Hair curled, pearls on, clipboard tucked under her arm like some kind of suburban sheriff. She tapped her pen against the fence like she owned the place. I was sipping black coffee on the porch, trying to process the madness, when Granny stepped out behind me, shotgun slung over her shoulder like a purse. "Good morning," Lydia chirped. "I wanted to discuss last night's misunderstanding." Granny gave her a look like she was deciding whether to shoo a stray dog or invite it to supper. "Misunderstanding looked pretty clear to me. You tried to steal a tractor." Lydia waved it off with a saccharine smile. "Oh heavens no, I was just inspecting the premises for fire code violations. Our HOA has strict standards." Granny didn't blink. "And you always inspect barns through the window at 2 in the morning?" Lydia stammered. "I'm willing to overlook the confusion if you agree to let the HOA handle some maintenance. Repaint the barn, clear out the tractors, update the fencing, for the good of the community." Granny narrowed her eyes. "I think you'd best scoot before you find out how I really handle misunderstandings." Lydia's smile twitched, but she backed off. Later that afternoon, I spotted Lydia snooping near the west fence with a man in a cheap suit. They were pointing and gesturing at the barn. I snapped some photos and showed Granny. "Told you," she said. "Fixing to try something stupid." Granny got to work. We weren't looking for trouble, but we wouldn't hide either. She oiled the shotgun, checked the locks, and rigged a few old surprises in the barn, booby traps from her wild younger days. One included a glitter bomb under the tractor seat. Sure enough, that night, I heard tires on gravel. Lydia and her suited friend crept toward the barn, flashlight in hand. Granny was already in the rafters. They popped the lock and stepped inside. Lydia made a beeline for the tractor, fumbling with printed-out instructions on how to hotwire it. She muttered, twisted wires, and tapped buttons like the tractor might work out of pity. Then Granny whistled. Lydia jumped, hit her head, and set off the horn with a sad little beep. She looked up and saw Granny, shotgun aimed. Her scream was pure gold. The suited guy raised his hands. "I'm just the lawyer," Granny replied. "Then you ought to know better." Lydia, desperate, dove into the tractor and hit the gas. She forgot about the barn wall. The tractor lurched forward, smashed through hay and barrels, and blew a hole straight through the side. When the dust cleared, Lydia was sitting in the wreck, dazed. Granny walked past like it was nothing. "That'll be coming out of your HOA dues," she muttered. And the saga had only just begun.